Hey guys, welcome back. So with us finishing a few of the other playlists, I figure it's time for us to get back to a couple of these which you guys have been asking for us to pick back up, with Robin definitely being one of those. So for this one, we're picking up right where we left off, jumping right back into the Lazarus tournament and into the final match between Damian Wayne and Connor Hawke, which from here really just sends everything to the next level. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so with us jumping back in to the Lazarus tournament just after the Final Four frenzy, which like we'd seen before at this point brings it back down to Connor Hawke and Damian Wayne. And for the two of them, this isn't just the last fight which determines the winner of this tournament, but also for the two of them, this is a long awaited rematch. And going into this last fight, the two of them are having this stare down to see who's gonna strike first, so that with doing so, the other fighter can control the fight from a defensive standpoint. And I love the way that this is done, because while they're standing there, on one hand we do get this like Hawke versus Robin, like the actual birds comparison that's kind of going around, but also on each end, we see that they both have their motivations as far as why they would strike first, which would give the other combatant the advantage. And I like how this is done, even though they're standing here staring at each other for a long time. But while they're here, we see on Connor's end, he remembers that he defeated Robin the last time. So for him, it's like, why wouldn't he strike first and get this over with? And then for Damian, he remembers just before that last fight, the talk and the laughs that him and Hawke had, only for Hawke to then turn around and fight him outside of the regulations of the tournament, which for Damian was kind of like a spit in the face, stab in the back type thing. But while they're here having this stare down, just below them in the Lazarus pit, it begins to bubble up with something preparing to make its way out after the conclusion of this final match. But with quite a bit of time passing, up top, Flatline makes her way back, and she's kind of like, wait a minute, did Robin kill me? And Ravager's kind of like, hate to break it to you. And Ravager doesn't come out and say it, but Robin did, and it was nothing personal. But with the two of them hurrying back to see the match, Ravager asks Respawn what did they miss, and for Respawn, who's still in his feelings about not getting his rematch, he lets them know that they ain't missed nothing, because the two of them is standing there for about an hour. But then it's here at a moment's notice to where the fight just begins. And when it does, Robin goes for the first hit, to where then Connor dodges and counters, but for the two of them, they're just moving so fast that the both of them are just hitting air. And when it finally comes to the point to where a hit is actually landed, it happens when the two of them throw a punch at the same time, which lands fist to fist, sending the both of them sliding back. And when I seen this, I was just thinking like, man, DC need to get on this animated movie. And not to say that I've heard that they're working on anything, but rather I'm just expressing some wishful thinking. But with seeing this, the crowd loves it. And amongst them, we see people either rooting for Robin or they're rooting for Hawke. But between the two of them, you can tell like there's this mutual respect. Because in the middle of this fight, there's also this short exchange like, Robin's like, hey man, you're good. And Hawke's kind of like, yeah, so are you. Like both of them are recognizing the skills throughout the course of this. And they're acknowledging each other like, nah, dude, you're really legit. But with it coming to a point to where Connor throws Damian into the crowd, he then tries to pound on Damian while Damian's in the crowd, but Damian dodges his hit and he uses the people in order to leverage momentum for his next hit. And when Damian does this, I feel like if this were one of those anime films, like, where they call out the fight moves as they do them, like if Damian were to call out this move, it would have been something like disrespectful flip kick off of the face of Shooter Jackson. And that right there would have just been epic. And it's crazy because when Damian does this, he lands enough power to kick Connor into a face plant that slides Connor back into the arena. And for me, that right there just sent me. But once they're back in the circle, this is where it starts to get nasty. Because from here, they start laying the heavy shots on each other like back to back to back. And when Connor lands his second face punch, followed by an elbow to the face of Damian, and it's right here where Damian starts to doubt himself, telling himself that he can't win, to where then he quickly shakes it off and he rushes back to engage with Connor, only to then get the wind kicked out of him. And from there, Ravager wants to stop the fight, but Damian and Flatline, they remind her that she has to stay out of it. Because again, this fight can only end one way, because every fight on Lazarus Island is to the death. But at this point with Damian already having one death, and at one point nearly two, but him only having one death, and Connor more or less lets him know here like, look, dude, you're taking a beating. You don't have to take this abuse. Let's just end this. Because Connor will be his second death, and after that, Damian could just walk away. But Damian lets Connor know that he's not going anywhere. because he's been taking abuse his whole life, so why would he stop now? But also with Damien coming to this tournament, this hasn't only been like the journey for him finding himself, but also this has been Damien punishing himself because of the death of Alfred and him feeling like he wasn't good enough to save Alfred. So alongside of him being here for the abuse as a form of punishment, he's also here to discover if the darkness that everyone says that's in him is something that's actually real. But with Damien giving this very moving speech, you know, Connor is just like, okay, that's cool, but if you won't stop this fight, then I will. And he just snaps Damien's neck and the fight is over. The tournament is over. And right there, Mother Soul, she tells the others, you all have a third life. Is there anyone here who wishes to challenge Hawke? And when she says that, no one else utters a word. No one. And it's from here where Mother Soul and Master Dusk move forward with what Master Dusk had planned for some time now with the alliance between the League of Lazarus and the League of Shadows, which is also why the League of Shadows have been using Connor to win this tournament, with him being in debt to them because they looked after him when he returned. But when Master Dusk knew that he had who was said to be the greatest hand-to-hand fighter on the planet, right away he knew what he wanted to use Connor for. But at this point, with the tournament being won, Connor, he's just ready to get on with it. And right then, Mother Soul, she's just like, as you wish. And she calls for them to open the pit, to where then the ground starts rumbling and a beam shoots up out of the Lazarus pit through the center of the arena. And really it's here where the motives of Mother Soul, who we recently found out was Damien's great-grandmother, are revealed to everyone. Because the contestants, they just believed that the winner of this tournament, they would be granted immortality, and after it was over, everyone else would just be free to go. Which wasn't the case, because when they seen the ground opening and the beam shooting up out of the Lazarus pit, then they was like, oh, nope, it's time to go. To only then turn around and see that the ships had been torched. So with that happening and the League of Shadows then surrounding them, Mother Soul lets them know that the demon needs to be fed more deaths to be fully charged. And as far as Connor receiving immortality, it's really more like him becoming the avatar of the demon. Because when the Lazarus demon merges with Connor Hawke, it'll be indestructible. And really all the other fighters here, they're just going to be used as fuel for the Lazarus demon. But then it's here in this moment where Damien comes back, which for him gives him an advantage of being fully healed, but even still, he's had 2 deaths at this point. So if Damien dies again, it's for good. But with him coming back, Connor tries to let him know that this is why he joined the League of Shadows. And when they found him, he agreed to this, because Connor's faced some of the most powerful fighters in the world to a standstill, which also plays into why he believes that he has to do this. And he tells Damien that he's the only one who can stop the demon, to only then have the demon make its way out of the ground and reach right through Connor. Which from there just had everybody else kind of, you know, like, I hope he wasn't the only person who can, because as of right now, that's not looking like a sure bet. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.